And welcome back. So in this edition, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing what I would venture to say is our favorite decade of horror movies, which is the 1980s. Yep. But what we're going to do is we're each going to pick a movie from each year. So we're going to be reviewing from 1980 to 1989. We're each going to have our pick for favorite, but we're going to have a little fun with it. We're going to make this a little bit of a drinking game. So as we're going down the list, if we match, like if two people match, we got to take a drink of our beverages that we have here on hand. But if all three of us match, if all three of us pick the same movie for any given year, Cauldron of Calamity time, and I just refreshed it. You know the 80s, you know the schlock, you know the violence, you know the titties. I mean, it brought forth a lot of like the slashers and stuff like that, and titties. So what we're going to do is we've got our lists here. We're going to go through them. We'll have some honorable mentions too. We're just not really going to go into them too much, but we will like go into each of the films, why we like it, etc., etc. All right, so we're going to start with 1980. Banshee, what do you got for your favorite of 1980?
All right, 1980, post John Carpenter's The Halloween. My number one pick is John Carpenter's The Fog. I know you guys are gonna... I do have two honorable mentions, and I know this is gonna be debatable because you guys are all gonna be like, well, what about The Shining? Well, honorable mention to The Shining. Great movie. I just like The Fog a little bit better. And my other honorable mention is The Changeling.
Okay, well, I picked The Fog as well, so we got a drink.
Oh, shoot!
Or wait, what's yours, Mackie?
That's The Shining.
All right, so...
Great movie.
Did we all drink or just you
I got
drink?
nothing bad to say about The Shining.
Just us.
Okay. Did I say my favorite was The Fog? I meant The Fog.
Talk about The Fog.
Yeah.
Amazing acting. We got super sexy man candy, Tom Atkins. We got Jamie Lee. Tons of great actors that John Carpenter loved to work with back then.
Adrienne Barbeau.
Adrienne Barbeau. An amazing soundtrack. Wouldn't you say one of the best horror soundtracks?
It's
arguably.
It's up there. I mean, John Carpenter did the score, and it's definitely one of my favorite.
What could be more spooky than the fog rolling in? Kind of, well, I wouldn't call them pirates, more like pioneers. Leper zombies, zombie ghosts. I don't know what you want to call them. It wasn't in the
Indian Ocean, so I wouldn't say pirates.
Yeah. Leper zombie ghosts.
I would say leopard.
Can you be both a zombie and a ghost? Because I feel like if so, that's kind of what they are.
Can you actually touch somebody if you're, I don't know.
Well, they were...
Only on April 21st.
They were corporeal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mirror her. I mean, and I'm actually, that's actually a movie that I just discovered within the last few years, actually. I didn't grow up with it.
Sometimes he's a late bloomer,
but I'm a late bloomer on some of these horror films. But yeah, no, it's got Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Atkins, Hal Holbrook, Adrienne Barbeau, who was married to John Carpenter at the time of the filming. And always,
never looked hotter than that
always
movie,
gorgeous.
Though.
Yeah, no, just the atmosphere between the way that was shot, how dark it was. It was filmed around Bodega Bay, California, and the soundtrack is probably what really grips it up there for me. And honorable mentions for me, just so I can throw them out there. I have City of the Living Dead by Fulci, and then The Shining. But it's not my favorite. That's
Speaking of The Shining, Mackie, let's talk about The Shining.
I love The Shining. It's my second favorite horror movie. We'll discuss my favorite one later. I don't want to get too winded, but my mom got lost in the snow once, and we had it on, what's that film called? 6mm?
16 millimeter?
16 millimeter for family films.
Yeah, 16 millimeter.
My dad took a picture of my mom trying to go to the bathroom at this hotel out in the snow, Big Bear or something, and she's like so scared walking, and he just fixates on her for like 30 seconds. And we used to watch, and she used to like slap my father every time we'd watch it on the wall, on the projector. She's like, that reminds me of The Shining. I'm like, what's that? Like, we'll show you when you're old enough.
It's arguably one of the scariest movies.
Yeah, so when I finally saw it, I'm like, it really resonated with me. And I love Stephen King. I love Jack Nicholson in there.
Stephen King.
But yeah, I love The Shining. I love how it ends. I love just the paranoia factor with the maze, even though that's not in the book. Well, spoiler alert, can we do that?
Yep.
The movie's 43 years old. I'm sorry.
The movie's over 40 years old, and the book is older than that.
Yeah, the book is older than that.
And of course, anytime you get a really good quote from a movie, you can't beat it. So you got Red Rum.
Red Rum, and
You've
here's
got
Johnny.
All work and no play. makes Jack a dull boy or whatever.
I always like when he tells Shelley Duvall, like, you know, he's got to work, and she's like, why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here? She's like, okay.
She's kind of my goddess in that movie. I kind of love her. Anyway.
It sucks because she's kind of messed up now, isn't she, Shelley Duvall?
She's just returning to acting, actually.
Yeah,
I think
she had all kinds of
I don't
therapy,
think it's because of that.
Okay.
I think it's just because back then, everybody that was an actress had to probably give a beat.
You can't say that. No.
We'll just say it was hard to be a female actress back then.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to be a female actress now.
all right, shall we go to 1981?
Yeah, why not? It was the year of your birth.
The year of my birth, the greatest year of the world. The world received the gift of Megan. All right, 1981. This is a top 5 movie for me, or top 6, since I refuse to pick between 5 and 5. This is An American Werewolf in London by John Landis. I'm sure you've seen this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, you should definitely watch it, particularly if you are a fan of werewolves. Mackie, 1981. We'll talk more in a sec. Also a great werewolf movie.
All right, and I also picked American Werewolf in London.
Ooh.
Yes, and we realize what else came out in 81. We know that The Evil Dead came out in 81.
Evil Dead is a close
and that is an
second.
honorable mention. I also picked The Beyond by Fulci, and she also picked...
My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah.
I was 81.
Also, yep. Okay, let's drink. Sorry.
Yeah, let's drink first.
Easily the best werewolf transformation scene of all time.
Yes,
True.
and it's still
I will hear
still
no
to
argument on
still to
this.
this day. I mean, with no disrespect to what was his name, Rob Bottin?
Oh, for Howling, yeah.
Yeah, for the
That
Howling.
one's great too.
Came out the same year, so I'm not.
But
I'm
his
not.
look-
I'm not sure what the
I'll say
timeline is.
Bottom
but-
looks a little bit more rubbery.
Yeah.
David Naughton looks... That was full on flesh.
Although I think
that
we
was
can
a fleshy
all,
looking makeup.
even though we're not talking about this movie, you guys know I love to talk about it. I know we can all appreciate the werewolf striptease and trick or treat. Thank you. Moving on. Also, another great soundtrack, American Werewolf.
Well, it's got a lot of good. It's got a lot
I
of good
see
rock hits and whatnot.
Red moon rising.
Can't say enough about the transformation sequence because up until then you only had like the fading sequences, like the Lon Chaney Jr. sequences and
I
things
love
like
that.
that.
Just
I
kind of
love
fade
Lon Chaney
into it.
Jr.
It just
though.
fade into
Fade,
it and stuff
fade,
like that.
yeah,
You didn't
yeah.
really have something to where you showed a transformation of that magnitude.
Or
Like
like-
you had the hair coming out,
Yeah.
you had the bones constricting, you had the muzzle coming out and
good.
shit.
Or you
And
always
so
had
good.
Ray Harryhausen type stuff, or but
well, and a lot of those.
But Rick
special effect
Baker
artists are-
hit the scene with
The
American Werewolf.
Ghosts effects are awesome
Yeah.
too. Like all the effects are amazing in that movie, I would say.
Well, all the makeup effects. I mean
Yeah.
that they did. I mean Jack's. Dead makeup as he's
Yeah.
decomposing throughout the movie, but also the characters are great, the story's great.
It's scary,
Can I get a piece
even
of
though it's
bread?
funny.
Oh, cool.
I love the cut to the Mickey Mouse doll when the transformation is going on.
Everyone
I don't
remembers
know.
the Mickey Mouse
I love
doll.
that.
He's in agonizing pain, transforming, and it's like, hey, let's cut to Mickey Mouse.
Hi, David. I feel like it kind of shaped the way that kind of werewolf movies are made in a way.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody
with-
goes to that now.
And you get like the flashbacks and everything like that. Like you get a lot of that in a lot of werewolf movies, or really any paranormal movies, like of people being haunted by, the ghosts of their past or whatever. I mean, it's just, I can't say enough about it. It's an amazing movie.
Yep, it's top 5 for me as well. Now tell us what
about
you
the
like.
Howling.
Tell us about the Joe
D.
Dante
Wallace.
81 classic.
This is back when nostalgia time again. I remember when we first got our first VCR, my family. Remember the cover for the Howling where it's like the lips through the
Yeah, it's the claw
Oh,
marks.
It's the claw marks and the lips.
It's screaming.
Yeah,
It's the
and
D.
then,
Wallace.
remember you look in the back,
Yep.
you have that the guy's face is all blue looking, his eyes are like all dotted. Yeah,
Creepy.
and I'm 4 years old. I'm like, oh my god, what is it? My parents would not let me watch these movies yet. But I remember I saw a trailer for The Howling. Remember they used to have the TV version?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I saw the trailer at my house and I screamed and yelled and ran behind the couch or whatever. And then eventually I saw the movie itself, like, I don't know, 2-3 years later. Everything they said about American Werewolf is spot on, but The Howling is what I remember as a kid, scaring the shit out of me, kind of like The Incredible Hulk.
I don't know what it is about it, but it feels so like early 80s to me too.
Yeah.
So it's very
Well,
nostalgic.
it's also very gritty, though. It's like the
Yeah,
way that Joe
that's what I'm
Dante
saying.
filmed it,
Yeah.
like in the city sequences, when D. Wallace's character is looking for Robert Picardo.
Yeah, looking
and
for
they
him
go
in-
to like the
it-
peep
it-
show and stuff
yeah.
like that. It is very. It's like
it's
like a Frank. What's his name? Hettenlotter. Frank Hettenlotter, the guy that did Basket Case, and and if I said his name
Yeah.
wrong, I'm
I mean,
sorry.
it was like
but
it was
it's
borderline.
It's very dirty.
Yeah,
It's
it was,
very gritty.
It was borderline X-rated material, and it was scary. And
Yep.
and it's by a director that for now, I mean, he's known for Gremlins. He's known for
Was it
Explorers.
Was it Piranha 1 or 2?
He did. I think he did 1, and I think James Cameron did 2.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody will prove me wrong
someone
in
can
the
tell us. Yeah.
comments. All right, let's go to 1982, which is arguably one of the best years in film. Period.
In all
in
cinema.
film,
For
just,
John
not just horror.
John Ers.
This was the hardest year to narrow down ever, but not really, because my pick for 1982 is my third favorite horror movie of all time. It has arguably one of the scariest scenes in any horror movie ever. It probably messed you up as a kid if you watched it. It is Poltergeist, allegedly directed by Tobe Hooper.
It is directed by Tobe Hooper.
With scenes directed by Steven Spielberg.
It is directed by Tobe Hooper.
Whatever. Anyway, and then of course I have an honorable mention for the amazing, ever amazing Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and The Thing by John Carpenter, and of course Creepshow by George A. Romero.
All right, well, I'm going to just segue. Creepshow is my pick for 1982. It's my number 2 horror movie of all time. But my honorable mention, of course, is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch and The Thing. And honestly, The Thing, at both movies, I kind of picked up later.
God, all those movies.
I know. I mean, I'm picking up a lot of these gems like later in life. All right, what did you have for 82?
I have Halloween 2 and The Thing right after.
Halloween 3.
I'm sorry, Halloween 3.
Halloween 2. That was 80.
No, I meant to say Halloween also.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have Halloween 3, but then honorable mention would be The Thing.
And The Thing I didn't get to till like the middle 2000s, but Halloween 2 I saw. Again, I'm 12 years old or something. It's on TV. I'm like, this is scaring the shit out of me.
For me, Poltergeist, of course, the clown scene. I love the bathroom scene where the face is melting off. What I kind of like about this is it's based on true events. I love Tangina. I love Carol Ann. I think it's scary, but it's also built around the family. And you can really feel like their love for each other and their love for their daughter. And less love for Robbie, who gets fucked up in the movie, but whatever, we won't go there.
Most tragic profile ever.
Hey, but at least he gets braces in 2. I mean, it fucks him over.
Yeah,
in
but
the
they
end.
try and kill him.
Of course, it's allegedly a cursed movie. You know, both of the female children from the movie are now deceased.
You can watch cursed films on
Yeah,
Shudder.
go ahead and watch it.
That.
But that just adds to the whole piece of it. For me, I love paranormal movies. So if there's a ghost in it, I freaking love it. And it particularly because I believe in ghosts. And you will not find a better ghost story than Poltergeist. I defy you to find one.
I'm sure you'll get some comments.
Yeah, but you're wrong. All right, Mackey, tell us about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
I said it's got Tom. It was probably the first Tom Atkins movie I saw.
Best jingle of all time.
Because they had to take a public domain song because they didn't have money to make anything.
Yeah. There was that, just everything. The homeless guy getting his head yanked off. Just the robots were killing me. I love Cochran with his speech about Halloween, and it's probably the first movie I ever saw where I'm like, here's a guy who's like 50, whatever, and he's just jamming with a girl who's like 20.
And that's the whole thing.
Which is like a trope of the 80s with Tom Atkins.
Dr. Chalice.
Yeah.
And that's
Stacey Nelkin.
In this day and age, his character would not fly because he's a sex addict, alcoholic, womanizing,
divorcee, bad dad, you know.
Yeah, but he also does have a conscience because he does want to help Ellie unlock the secrets to what happened to her father who got killed.
It had one of my, to this day, in horror, it's one of my favorite cliffhanger movies. The stop it,
know.
and then he yells and it echoes, and you don't know if he stopped it or not. So even if he stopped it, Cochran kind of got some of his way.
The best thing about Halloween 3 is it just feels so much more like Halloween than any of the other Halloween movies. No offense to anyone who loves Mike Myers, but imagine if we had gotten movie after movie like that.
It's the only Halloween movie where the holiday of Halloween is detrimental to, or not
central.
Central. I keep saying detrimental.
Yeah.
That means not central to the plot.
But they're more like just slasher movies.
They are.
They could happen in April.
They can happen anytime.
A
guy dressed up in a William Shatner mask.
If you take Halloween away from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
It has to happen on Halloween.
All right, let's talk about Creepshow.
All right.
My God, George A. Romero.
Yep, 1982. George A. Romero classic, written by Stephen King. Makeup effects by Tom Savini, and great cast.
Thick machine.
Hal Holbrook again. You got Adrian Barbeau, Leslie Nielsen.
Love her.
Ted Danson.
Ted Danson.
the dance.
King himself.
So Ed Harris.
Yeah,
Ed
Ed Harris
Harris
shaking his moneymaker.
And Stephen King himself's in the movie.
Oh my gosh, I love Jordy Farrell so much.
It's my favorite horror anthology of all time, but it's also my number 2 horror movie of all time.
Also, one of the best Halloween costumes we ever had at this party. Put a picture right here, Nuff.
It is one that I actually did grow up watching. I remember Fluffy from The Crate. I remember, all the other stories, the roaches and stuff like that. The opening with Stephen King's son, and again Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins just stars in the wraparound. But
a lot of Tom in this list. Woo!
Nice.
Harrison Ford of horror.
All right, let's go to 83.
Ooh, 1983. All right. For me, I'm going to take a little trip into Stephen King on this one. My 1983 pick is one of my most watched Stephen King movies, The Dead Zone, directed by David Cronenberg, starring Christopher Walken. My honorable mentions are Sleepaway Camp and The Hunger. The
Hunger's really good, actually. I might put that in there for
The Hummer. What horror movies are you watching?
And The Hummer.
Yeah. Trust me, you could have called it The Hummer. You ever seen that movie?
I haven't actually. I haven't seen The Hunger.
Yes,
the ghost,
exactly.
he's dead.
Yes.
What's your 83?
I'm going with The Dead Zone too, because I remember.
Drink.
Yeah. Oh, cha-ching.
Not that I just.
Now, I just recently saw it all the way through for the first time, but I've seen 18 different.
Yeah, we got to see a
versions
16
of it.
millimeter print of it, thanks to our buddy
Ice
Michael.
is gonna break.
Enough to
Christopher
tell you
Walken.
that I watch that movie all the time. You tell us your picks, and then we'll talk about The Dead Zone.
Mine's not The Dead Zone. It is Psycho 2, directed by
it's a
Richard
great
Franklin,
movie.
written by Tom Holland. My honorable mentions: Christine, John Carpenter, and Twilight Zone the movie. But
Rest in
That
peace,
movie
Vic
had
Morrow.
no business being that good.
Psycho
It's a good
2
movie, go
had
for it.
zero business being as good as it was.
It's so good.
Like it could have just been a cash grab.
It's like
if done
That's
it
what
well.
everyone
should've
thought it
been-
was gonna be.
It's like, what, 20 years later? 10, 13 years later? Something like that? However long it is between, that movie should be as shit. It's acted well. It's interesting.
Well, because here's the thing. It's like you got people that are like, hey, you know what we should do a sequel to? Psycho. And then everyone's like, what?
Psycho is
But
absolutely a masterpiece.
They're probably like, why don't we
So
make
the
a sequel to
fact
the Ten Commandments while we're at it? They're
so
probably
the
thinking
fact
like
that
that.
they
You
even
know?
attempted it is brave
You
as
wanna make
hell.
Ben-Hur
Because,
too?
like I said, exactly. Like, Psycho is immaculate. Like, it is holy to horror fans. To me, anyways. I don't know what the rest of y'all.
It looks dated, aesthetically speaking, but it doesn't feel too dated, I don't think.
I mean, you can watch, Psycho and then pick up Psycho 2, and then it's a great addition to the.
It's entertaining.
And brings in old characters from the original movie, and then also just focuses on, Anthony Perkins coming back to the hotel. Is he healed? Is he not healed? Murders happen, and all this other stuff. And then there's the scene at the end that made me laugh maniacally as a child, and that's when
he hits the old lady.
no, it's when Norman's Norman's biological mother takes a shovel to the back of the head, and for some reason, because my parents watched it, I didn't watch the rest of the movie when I was younger, but that was the scene that was there, and I don't know why. I was a morbid child. I just laughed hysterically. But anyways,
The thing about Psycho 2 is that Norman was healed. And it's funny because it's a reversal of roles. Norman was easily the villain in the first movie. Not that Marion didn't have her own crime going on and her own side hustle. But in Psycho 2, it's a reversal of roles, I feel like. Because Norman was healed. If they hadn't messed with him, I think he would have been fine. They're the reason that he reverted back. I feel like he had recovered.
that was their plan.
I know.
That was their plan. They wanted him to up and get
go back in jail.
All the
back in
deaths
prison.
are
It's
on
like, be
their
careful
hands.
what you wish
then.
for, kind of.
Yeah,
They don't-
all the
they
deaths
don't
are on
care
their
because
hands.
in
They're
their-
equally as guilty.
No, because in their minds, they were like, the justice system failed us, so guess what? We're going to take matters into our own hands, no matter the
that
cost.
makes them equally as
So they were
guilty.
short-sighted. They thought you can't rehabilitate somebody.
All right.
That's all I'm saying.
Talk about Dead Zone.
Ooh, the
Dead
Dead
Zone.
Zone. First and foremost, Christopher Walken,
Christopher Walken,
foreshadowing
yeah.
that he's going to play the Headless Horseman years
Yeah,
later at the beginning
talking
of the
about-
movie.
Oh, talk about Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
It's about a school teacher.
I knew
yeah.
somebody was going to get an accent going.
Who's
You
going to
can't
get chased
talk
by
about-
a headless
Yeah.
horseman.
You know.
Okay, so what I love about this
his character
movie
had a
is
fever.
It's kind of subtle.
I'm going to get a refill. You guys talk about
Yeah,
this.
it's kind of subtle. There's not as many. It's not like a big action movie. It's not as many intentional scares.
No,
what's going on. It's pretty much, it's very political. If you know what happens at the end, he basically prevents World War III because he's psychic and he sees the future.
And what I thought was interesting about that aspect is, you think about this, okay, this is 83. Terminator comes out in 84, so this whole, the future is going to have a war, so we got to do something in the past to prevent that. That wasn't really a thing yet.
Nope.
And then, so Deadpool, it's like, I'm sure in retrospect... Dead Zone. I'm sure in retrospect people would be like, oh, Terminator did it better. And a lot of people probably won't realize...
Avengers did it.
Yeah, what came out first? Dead Zone came out first.
Yep. You want to really be sympathetic to Johnny, but of course he's in a coma for like 5 years, loses his girlfriend. His parents age, he loses 5 years with his elderly parents, you know, and then creates like a stigma about himself because he starts developing the ability to, of course, see the future.
And people are starting to freak out about him.
People kind of give him like one of those personas of, hey, here's this weird guy, you know what I mean?
And I think the reason for that, too, is when you watch that movie, the main plot, which is the Stilson plot, that's like 55 minutes into the movie. They don't even talk about that.
The Martin Sheen.
The Martin Sheen part of the plot, which is the central plot, comes later. So by the time that part comes, you feel for Johnny already. So like, you know, this guy has something, he wants to change his life somehow.
And they're like in the middle of it.
And he sees this moment like, I gotta, this guy's a piece of crap, I gotta save the world now. But that's what I'm saying is, but the first act, the first part, which is solving the serial killer, he wants nothing to do with this.
Well, he doesn't know that he can do that.
I know,
at that
but he
point.
wants to be left alone. I just came out of a coma. Leave me alone.
I feel like with the
he's been asleep for
exception-
5 years. Off.
Yeah, my woman's off with someone else.
With the exception of the reporter that tries to trap him, and he's like, "Oh, don't blame yourself for your sister," or whatever it is he says. With the exception
Freaked
of
him
that,
out,
the rest of his stuff was accidental. So this was the first time he went out seeking, and I mean, the body was dead. You know what I mean? Everybody else was alive that he kind of like had visions about.
This is another movie where I saw it in pieces. I saw the ending first, and I just love that scene where, you know, he's looking at Martin at the end, and he's like, "You're finished." And remember in the theater when we saw the audience when you see she's just like
the magazine cover.
He's just like,
see the magazine cover where he's hiding behind the baby.
And the audience was like, everyone was like, everyone was cheering.
One of those movies to go see with an audience. I mean, most good movies are.
Because Martin Sheen, whose combined screen time is probably like 20 minutes, was really good at playing a piece of shit.
He's great in that movie. Everybody is.
So he
really
got what everyone.
It
was a real payoff when he offs himself at the end of the film.
So let us move on to 1984, which I suspect
this is gonna
may
be
have
this is gonna be fun.
I don't know. Let's say it 1, 2, 3 at the same time.
1, 2, 3.
A Nightmare on Elm Street.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's take shots.
Yep.
God, I better not
Pick a good one. Pick a good one.
Oh, root beer.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, really?
Apples.
Don't try.
Whipped. Woohoo! All right.
This is bad.
I get whipped. Wait a minute.
What'd you get?
I got root
You
beer.
get 99 root beers.
Apparently it's bad. I love root beer.
All right, to Wes.
To Wes.
To Wes. Oh my.
It still tastes like rubbing alcohol, but at least it tasted a little sweet.
No. That's the worst thing I've ever had.
I told you the root beer's not good.
They're fucking burns. Can I taste yours? Mine doesn't have a wide enough hole.
I'll dance around a little bit for 84 while we wait. 84 was a great year.
Yeah, let's say honorable mentions. I've got Night of the Comet and Toxic Avenger.
This is disgusting.
I know she had Gremlins. We're considering that horror.
Yeah.
It's also a Christmas
Gremlins
movie.
is 100% horror. If you argue, those Gremlins are scary.
It's horror, but it's
I would
funny
say the
horror.
second movie's more family than the first one is. Yes, it is PG, but
it's got Dick Miller. What do you want, guys? I mean,
when I was 7 years old, I had a nightmare about it.
Yeah.
It's horror. Don't get me started on my hero, the unsung
she
hero.
She also liked Children of the Corn,
horror.
which also came out in 84.
Yes, Children of the Corn as well. The unsung hero of horror, Lynn Peltzer. But anyways, let's talk about our 1984 pick. Conceptually, one of the scariest horror movies of all time. Wes Craven, R.I.P. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
And I kind of feel like, maybe I'm wrong here, when Nightmare comes out, that's what really started the slasher competition.
I would.
Well,
I mean,
so to
Jason
speak.
or Friday the 13th came out
but I mean, where it was
that.
like this guy versus this guy versus this guy.
I would say,
Yeah.
okay,
I kind of feel like that's
in a sense of that, because at that time you had Leatherface, Mike Myers, and Jason Voorhees, but then you had but like in between like
but
the
it became
80s and
it
like
became
80s,
fashionable
like
to
80, like the first 3 years of the 80s, it was slashers galore.
But
And here's
like I
the
said, I may
thing
be wrong,
about
but
them
yeah,
is those guys are all arguably men. Okay? Like Mike Myers, dude. Leatherface, dude. Jason, is he paranormal? No.
Later in the series he is.
But
Yeah.
isn't Nightmare?
But Freddy is the first, even same thing with like before then I mentioned My Bloody Valentine, Minor, Sleepaway Camp is kind of a slasher. Like those are all people.
There was lots of
This is the first like paranormal slasher.
And also, isn't Freddy? Is he like the Arnold of horror? The whole like, I'm gonna one-line you before I kill you
but
type of thing.
he's still
Or did someone else do that first?
No. That didn't
Or-
like start that way.
Yeah.
I would say by about 3 and on, he
but-
got really quick.
But I mean, he was the one who kind of,
because he went from being scary in 1 to ruthless and demented as shit in 2, and then jokey.
And then jokey.
Which
welcome to prime time, bitch.
Don't get me wrong, because Dream Warriors is my favorite nightmare movie. But
that's what's special about Freddy. It can mix comedy horror but still be scary. The thing about Nightmare on Elm Street that's unique is that when you have a horror movie, if you're not one of these people who's like nothing scares me, which I'm like, why even like horror then? To me, it's kind of like when you watch a horror movie, you have a nightmare about it, and Freddy attacks you in your nightmare. What could be more genius than that? Literally nothing. It's the most genius horror movie plot of all time.
And he got that from researching news articles about people dying in their sleep.
And Freddy is my favorite
happens.
slasher. Like he's the
Mine
only
too.
he's the only slasher I ever did for Halloween twice, 4th grade and 5th
You
grade.
too, right?
I was actually Freddy in the
87 and 88 for
I was
me.
Freddy in the 3rd grade, but also in the 2nd grade we had this assignment where we had to make our own, draw and write our own children's books, and I just adapted Nightmare on Elm Street.
I had a horror-themed birthday party one time, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because I have no concept of time, like in my adult life though, and I was the hall monitor from...
Where's your pass?
Yeah, and I have a very accurate glove replica.
Yeah,
Anyways.
she just needs to swear to go along with it, but I don't know. I mean, we can stand here
one of
waxing
those
about
John
Nightmare on Elm
Saxon
Street and
movies.
just
You've seen this movie.
and
I
Freddy
know you've
Krueger.
seen it. I'm not even going to say if you haven't seen it. I know for a fact that you watching this have seen this movie, and I don't have to tell you how amazing it is. You know how amazing it is.
I'm waiting for the
you
one
know
person
that
to-
Robert Englund is amazing in this. There's nothing bad about A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it started so many amazing movies for me.
Yeah.
And you know, the world is without Wes, and we're not better for it. That's all I'm saying.
No,
R.I.P.
we're.
Yeah.
I mean, we would hope that he would have done more than just Scream, but I mean, obviously.
You talking about to round out his career?
I'm just saying to
People
round out his
under the
career, like
stairs.
see, no,
his last,
see, like
the last
Yeah.
15 years of his life, he was just
Deadly
making Scream
Friend.
movies.
yeah, his last. I mean,
Serpent.
he did make. I think Scream 4 was his last movie. I
Yeah.
think. I mean, I don't
Was
know.
that 97? No,
Yeah.
that's a 2000. Never mind.
That was
sorry.
2011,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.